Welcome back to the DWD podcast, our fourth episode of the week, I'm pretty sure. Today, I'm joined with my co-host, Asher. Of course, it's Joey here, and we're also joined with an amazing guest. Everybody, please welcome Gly Gabriel.
Gly, for anyone who doesn't know you already, could you give them a little bit of an introduction, tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'll try to give like a short spiel, but basically, I'm a coach. I call myself a vision execution coach. I really help people get clarity on what their vision in their lives and their career is, and the steps to really get to create a fulfilling career in life. And a little background on myself. I grew up in New Jersey. My family's from Haiti originally. Was able to rise out of poverty, leave the inner cities, go to a boarding school by the name of Westtown School in Pennsylvania. And then that set me up really well to get into Harvard University. And from there, studied biomedical engineering, thinking I was going to be an engineer or doctor. Didn't do either. Ended up working on Wall Street. And so I worked at Morgan Stanley for a couple of years in the global capital markets. Did that and saw that I wasn't really fulfilled. And ultimately, I decided that I needed to leave. I backpacked around the world for over a year and came back with a clear sense of purpose. And so that is really to like spread positivity, to help people live happy, healthy, fulfilling lives. Mm-hmm. And that's what eventually led me into the path of entrepreneurship, content creation, personal branding, and ultimately what I'm doing now with my coaching business to help other young professionals really gain that clarity that they want in their lives and their career, and just really start to live life on their own terms.
Great. What prompted you to make that career shift?
Yeah. So I had been working at Morgan Stanley for my first year, my first job out of college, obviously. Morgan Stanley, I was working for like a whole year, every day, basically straight, no vacations. And then my boss, I love her, and she told me, she's like, "Hey, Gly, you know what? You've been working really hard. Like, take a day off, be a normal human being. Like, go do your laundry, read a book, just do like regular stuff." And I ended up going home. And the next morning, I saw this message that my brother had sent me the previous week that I had missed. And it was a video by this motivational speaker named Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip hop preacher, as he calls himself. And he was sharing his story, and something about how he was speaking really just, it hit me hard. And it just had me take a look at myself and my life. And I just looked at myself. I was like, what am I doing? And I thought about the people that I was working with, some of the more senior people at the firm, and the trajectory that I was going on. And I got real with myself. And I got real, and I said, you know what, Gly, you can stay in this industry, make tons of money, and you probably will never be happy or fulfilled. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And from that point, I started taking a look at, I was like, okay, well, what else can I do? Because up until that point, I had done everything that I was supposed to do. I went to school, I studied hard, I got out of the inner cities, I went to a boarding school, I got to Harvard, blah, blah, blah. Like, I felt like I was on this manufacturing line things were just being put onto me through the years. And I was just told what success was supposed to look like and how I was supposed to feel. And I didn't feel like that at all. And so for the first time in my life, really, I took a step back and started to explore, like, what is it that I truly desire? What is it that I want? And that, that had me start to go on this journey of, coffee chats and, with coaches. And because somebody I saw this speaker come to Morgan Stanley, and she was a coach, and that kind of sparked that light bulb inside of me. But at the time, I didn't think I still had fear and imposter syndrome, and I couldn't go and do that. But then another friend of mine was thinking about traveling around the world, and then I started thinking about that, and just once you open that door, once you flip that switch, like I like to call it, and you see that, oh man, there's this whole other world that I could possibly thrive in. You can't unsee that. And so I ended up, after I finished up my second year, because it was a 2-year program, and then I knew inside my heart that I couldn't stay there. And so I think it's just the culmination of these different events and serendipity that just really had me see something had to change. And I knew that if I stayed, what's likely to happen is that you know, you're gonna get into a relationship with somebody and like get married and have kids and things, and you know, you get these promotions, and then you get comfortable and get used to earning a certain amount of money, and all of that keeps you locked into a path that might not necessarily be for you. And so you know, I think it was just like a bunch of things that really had me see like, you got to move now, and because if you don't move now, you may stay stuck here for a long time, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was all of that, I would say.
That's a super inspiring message. I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into the nuances of how you're going about finding your vision, what that really is, because I know it's a very daunting thing. A lot of our audience are younger people. So what did that process look like, and how did it change over time?
Yeah, great question. The process initially looked like just having conversations with people. And I think, you know, for a lot of the people, young people that are listening to this, you guys have a huge advantage. Being young, people want to mentor you. People want to share their advice. Literally, I guarantee you, if you just reached out to like the CEOs of the top 400, 500 companies, and you just say, hey, like I'm 17 years old and I love whatever, like entrepreneurship and business, and I would love to just have 15 minutes with you to just hear about your story and your experiences and get your mentorship and advice, you're going to get some hits, you know, like, and most people won't take that action because of the fear. But like in taking those types of actions, and even if it's not the CEO, maybe it's just like somebody like a VP or some like whatever, somebody in a company or in business or industry that you're interested in, or doing something, anything related to what you're interested in. It doesn't have to be corporate. It could be like music, and it could be like art, whatever. People want to give, you know, especially if you're coming from this genuine place. And so one of the biggest things that you can do early on is just have conversations with people. And so that's what it looked like for me initially. As I went through my journey, it looked like it transformed from just having conversations with people to getting into action. And to creating the space for me to explore. And I think a lot of people don't give themselves that space. And what I mean by that is, you know, I took a whole year to just go and travel around the world and experience things. And when you get to experience things and try things out and talk to people and do different things that you would never have done before, that's when you start to develop like a sense of a clarity around what makes you tick, what's like that's cool, like that's good, like I love that, and what's like, oh hell no, I don't want to do anything like that at all. And the more you become self-aware, the more you can start to gain clarity around how you can shape your life in a way that where you light up and where you can really be world class and feel amazing. And so it gets away from, it really comes down to taking action and like giving yourself the space to try different things and fail at different things and learn from them and just move like from there. And then, so that was like the second phase, and that was like me backpacking and stuff. And then the third phase was being a lot more intentional about getting help from other people that have been like where I want to be, that are skillful and masterful at helping individuals really gain that clarity for themselves. And so I did a bunch of personal growth and training workshops and seminars and reading books and getting, like, I hired a coach eventually. And all of that really helped me get an outside perspective and somebody that's literally dedicated to helping me discover that and like craft my vision in life and business. And so, it started like the phases like, okay, you have an initial idea and you start to have chats and conversations with people, just to like get a general a view of the landscape and see like what it is that you like. And then the next phase is actually going out, giving yourself the space to try things, to fail, to win, and to see like what really resonates with you. And then the third phase, and if you really want, is to get help from somebody who's trained in like helping people gain that clarity and really craft their vision for their lives, and then just go take off from there. And it's like awesome. A never-ending process, actually. You're going to keep going through this cycles as you grow and as you change. But the more you can learn how to hone that self-awareness, the better it, like the better life can be for you.
Yeah, I appreciate the cyclical nature note that you talked about, because I think a lot of us think that you can just read a book and be self-actualized and be in this enlightened place, but something's always changing the way that we think. So I really appreciate that note.
Yeah, so a lot of people, at least now from what I've seen, look at this sort of course trajectory shift in a negative light. A lot of people have this midlife, quarter-life crisis where they're like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? What allowed you to have a positive outlook on that life switch up?
Yeah, because you got to look at like, if you don't take that course trajectory, what's likely? Like if you're already miserable at a job that you don't like I think I was reading a Forbes article and it said over 70% of people are disengaged at work. 53% of people are unhappy with what they do. If you fall in that, like in those statistics, what do you really have to lose? Like, because and especially with like the times that we're in, coronavirus and just the recession that's starting to happen, there is no real security. Like you can fail doing work that you hate and work that's just killing you and literally like physically like damaging you with like stress, anxiety, like you're like hunched over on a computer all day. Like all of these things like are not, if they're not adding to you, if they're not empowering you, why would you? Yes, like you might have to potentially start over. But another way to look at it is like, oh wow, like I discovered what doesn't work. I saw something that's not like, this is not for me. So instead of continuing down that path and wasting more time, say, okay, this is the day. I'm changing it now, because your life can change like that. And the truth is, once you really start doing the work and like start living the life that's aligned with you, you're not going to feel like you're working again, really. Like maybe there are some things that you're going to do that's going to like, you have to do like initially just to get things going. But in general, like, as long as you know where you're going, you're going to be a lot more fulfilled and you're going to feel like in control of your life. And so the way I see it is actually a really logical and practical thing to just be like, hey, like grateful that you're having that quarter life, midlife crisis. Or maybe like late life crisis. Maybe you're 60 years old and you're still like trying to figure it out. Like, and there are a lot of people who are like that. And that's, if you have the fortune of realizing that, you have the responsibility to make a decision to change your life. Definitely. Or continue doing what you're doing and being miserable. But either way, it's kind of illogical not to change if it's not working for you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I want to kind of talk about, for you, what does it mean to have happiness and fulfillment as your North Star? What does that feel like on a day-to-day? And what does that look like? How do you go about actualizing that?
That's a great question. What that feels like and what that looks like is literally it's checking in with yourself on a regular basis, and seeing holding that vision that you have, keeping it at the forefront of your mind. If you lose sight of it and you get lost in reaction and just trying to do things, even when you're doing the work that you love, sometimes you get disconnected with why you're doing it. And so really staying present to the why, staying present to where you're trying to go. But like, it's not about the end goal per se. It's about the experience, the feelings, the emotions that you're going to have when you reach that. And so one of the things that I teach in my coaching is this idea of be, do, have. Because most people, they do, like they take a bunch of actions so that they can have, money, women, vacation, whatever it is. And that'll help them feel fulfilled, and that'll help them feel happy and adventurous and successful and all these different things. I say, no, you start with the end. So if what you ultimately want is to feel happy and fulfilled, you bring that to now. You get present to that right now. Like that's what's driving you. So every day I have multiple check-ins, like an alarm goes off maybe like 5 times a day, like that are spread out throughout the day. And it has me take a mindful moment where I just remember why I'm doing it. Freedom, power, safety, love, fun. I feel all of those things. And then I celebrate it. I'm like, I'm doing that. I'm living that life right now. And then I just added something. Well, I'll like future pace, which means basically to think about like the things that might come up, the obstacles, like if I'm like overthinking and like I get really heavy about the work that I'm doing, then I'm going to take a moment to just stop, celebrate, and do this same process again. To stay in that frequency and stay in that vibration of like happiness, fulfillment, etc. And the more you do that, you're going to be that, and then you're going to take actions that are aligned with that. Because if you're feeling fulfilled and you're feeling happy, you can only take actions that are like aligned with somebody that's fulfilled and happy. And then the results, you're going to have the types of results that type of person has. If you're being someone who's a value creator and that's wealthy, you're going to start taking actions that are aligned with that and have wealth. And so what it looks like for me is just like putting in systems and different things and polluting my environment with things that inspire me and that remind me of the why behind everything that I'm doing, like behind the actual material image of like, the vision that I have, but what's the why, what's that feeling, what's the experience that I want to have, and bring it into the present right now.
I love that idea of reoccurring purpose, because I think that a lot of people don't take the time out of their even year, if not week or even day, to think about that why, that purpose, what they're doing, what's driving them.
Yeah.
Though, at least from my perspective, it seems like the younger generation is put into these constructs of you'll go to school and you'll be happy. Mm-hmm. You'll go to this profession, you'll be a doctor and you'll be happy. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, do you think that we need these modern constructs to obtain happiness?
No, that's the whole point of be, do, have. You can have that right. You can be happy right in this second. If you're listening to this podcast right now, take a second and just be happy. Look at all the amazing blessings that you have in your life. You can be happy right now. And when you're able to like create that in this moment, then you separate happiness from the material, things. And then so that, because money, success, the school, like the degrees, all of that doesn't actually bring happiness. There's so many people, and I've been in these environments. I've been around millionaires. I've been around people who are like have tons of degrees from Ivy League schools. I was cut from that cloth. I was in that world, and I'm telling you right now, that doesn't bring happiness. Happiness starts. You don't have to go anywhere for that. It's inside of you already, and it starts with you really choosing to be happy. And so a lot of people think that it's these things that are going to bring the happiness. And I think that whole paradigm is wrong. I mean, like, yes, like it can bring it momentarily, but it's not like happiness is intrinsically like only attached to those things. Like you can generate that right now. And it's like a moment by moment decision. And it's a practice, right? And because it's so easy to get swept up with whatever your circumstances are, whatever is going on around you. And then especially hard when you have people in your life, your parents, your peers, the media that are telling you otherwise, and you have to develop this. You got to become tunnel vision and almost just block out all of the outside noise and really be grounded in the fact that, oh yeah, like I'm happy. I can be happy without all this other stuff.
So you seem to be a very inspired and passionate person. I'm wondering if you have any people that you've turned to in the past, maybe books, authors, coaches, mentors, and what are some of the words that they gave to you to bring you to this place now?
Yeah, I have a ton, and you all have access to that too. Well, first of all, I'm going to say we live in a time where you can be mentored by people you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, one of my biggest mentors is Gary Vaynerchuk. Like this man, like I literally was listening to him this morning, before this podcast, because I see a lot of how I want to show up, like with my brand and like and just like in the world when I'm speaking, I channel a lot of him. And so like just listening to him and like how he rolls, it just kind of seeps into me. He talks about gratitude and self-awareness and all of these things every single time I listen to him. And so if you're polluting your environment with people and things that remind you of that and that inspire you and that make you feel happy and fulfilled, etc., you can't help but be that as well. So, all the podcasts that I listen to, like Gary, Jay Shetty, like Lewis Howes, etc. Like all of these people, they're just like in my head all the time. And then in addition to that, one of my really good friends who I connected with through Instagram when I was being interviewed by another friend. And that's how the world happens, right? Like you go out there, you create value, and then you start to attract the types of people you want and that are going to align with you. And his name is Daniel Mangena, and he's like this coach, mentor. He's like transformational coach, and he really helped me uncover a lot of stuff. I went to his retreat in Cabo last year, and we had like a really intense session. I actually put it up on Instagram in my IGTV, but like he's been instrumental in how I approach life. Like he has this whole model around like just really being present in the now and like really getting clear on like how you want to experience life and like calling that into the present moment. So Daniel Mangena is another person that I really look up to. And then other mentors. I have like, even like people from like high school, from my boarding school, who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. My coach, my basketball coach, Seth Berger, who's like he completely turned around the Westtown, my boarding school, Westtown School's basketball program, where now they're like the top in the nation. And he believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. Like he and like my other my teacher Tracy and some other people, they when I didn't want to apply to Harvard, they were like, hey, no, like you're smart. What's the worst that can happen? Go do it. And they helped me through that process, and the rest is history, right? And so I think I've just been fortunate to be surrounded by people that see things in me and like help me like cultivate that. But then I also have been blessed to know that, hey, I can go and find these mentors online, even if I don't have access to them yet, and to start to develop that relationship. And I have no doubt that like Gary and we're going to be like homies one day. But like for now, it's like, hey, I have access to him through like Instagram and like in his podcast, and that's okay. And I think anybody that's listening to this right now also know that you have access to these individuals online. So go and find the people that you want to be around. And if you can't find them, then you create that community. You be that person, and I guarantee you'll start to attract the types of people that inspire you, that you can get that mentorship and guidance from as well.
Definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what do you have to tell or what do you have to give in terms of advice to Gen Zers listening to this podcast who want to reach a state of happiness and goal achievement that you've currently reached?
Yeah, is there like one main thing that they can do in their life that can bring them to a place where they're in a happier state?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody is kind of different, and like certain things work for some people, and others, other things work for other people. For me, meditation has been instrumental in my development. Going back to what I was saying about like be, do, have, like really getting present to how I want to be in the present, like right now. All of that has been because of meditation. And initially I just did it because, when I started traveling, actually, when I backpacked, somebody told me about it. I thought it was weird before, but I also thought maybe let me try something new. But out of doing that consistently, like basically every day for like the past 5 years or 6 years, I've become masterful at hearing the thoughts and seeing them and becoming aware of them, and knowing that my thoughts aren't necessarily me, right? Like I'm not controlled by my thoughts anymore, because sometimes we get fucked up thoughts. Oh, excuse me. I don't know if I'm supposed to curse.
No, you're good. You're good.
But sometimes, like sometimes our thoughts are pretty fucked up. And, I remember once, like I'm having a conversation with some people, and like we're talking about what might be possible and like how we're going to like what they wanted to do and what I wanted to do. And then I heard this little voice say, no, you can't. And it was the first time I had heard that. I was like, wait a minute, who said that? And then once I heard it that one time, I could all of a sudden start to hear when it comes up other times. Like maybe it's like reaching out to that influencer and trying to like collaborate, or or trying to get that new client, and you're like charging more money, you know, for your services, and that little voice says, no, you can't. That's bullshit. You've tried it before, but you couldn't do it. And so meditation and like just being mindful has helped me, one, catch those things and be like, oh wow, like that's cool. You know, like that, I know that wasn't me. Maybe somebody said that to me at one point in my life, and then I took that on, and I choose not to believe that right now. I choose to be happy and powerful and confident in spite of whatever is going on. And so I would say doing some type of mindfulness practice, whether that be meditation or yoga or whatever, like really helps you get present and start to separate yourself away from like the things that you can't necessarily control. Like your brain is going to always be going. And if you can like start to relate to yourself as how you say you want to be and how you like the intention that you set in the present moment, then all of these things become like background noise that can't distract you from where you're actually trying to go and like your intention. So
100%.
Yeah.
Gly, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're going to roll the red carpet out for you now. If anyone wants to contact you or see any of the work that you're doing, where can the people hit you up?
Yeah, so you can, if you'd like to just like follow my content, I post like basically inspirational, motivational, and just helping you just create the life of your design on Instagram, as well as LinkedIn every day. And so my handle is Gly Volner. So my first name is actually Gly Volner, but Gly is my nickname. But that's GLYVOLNER. And if you also want to just book a free 15-minute clarity call with me, feel free to go to glygabriel.com/coaching. So that's glygabriel.com/coaching. Cool.
Fantastic. I really hope y'all hit him up. He's spread a ton of value today on our podcast, and we really appreciate it. That's all from us from the DWD podcast. Until tomorrow, we will see you all then. Peace.